Welcome back to Open World Chat. I am your host, Jim Dandino, and joined again by John Odom, our fearless founder. Say hi, John.
I'm full of fear, but I am the founder. Thank you.
And we are back talking about more best things of 2022, even though as we record, it is technically 2023. We left off last time talking about television, and we wanted to save this for an entire episode because there's a lot of really good TV this year.
There is. And one thing to follow up on last week, though, I was taken to task that I don't think either of us mentioned Everything Everywhere All at Once.
That's because I haven't seen it yet.
Oh, well, see, it was up to me. But my reason is even worse. I did see it. It's sort of on my best of list, but here's the awful truth. And I'm the only person in the world who feels this way. I really love what they were trying to do. I think they accomplished a lot of it. I think it was really brilliant in a lot of places, but it was the worst example I've ever seen of false climax syndrome, where you think you're building up to a good ending and that was a great ending. Oh, that wasn't quite the ending. And it just keeps going like that for like the last 30 or 40 minutes of the movie. And that created for me a sort of, when is this ever going to end feeling? And I can't ignore the fact that as much as I enjoyed parts of it, as much as I enjoyed the idea, by the time I left the theater, I was like, oh, thank God I'm finally out of there. I just can't ignore that. So
I have been a vocal proponent of putting Michelle Yeoh in more things. So I greatly support the movie putting a lot of different Michelle Yeohs in things. I did get to watch the first 25 minutes of it off and on a plane before I got pooped on by an 18-month-old.
Hate it when that happens.
Yeah, but it was great. What I saw was fantastic, and I will eventually watch it. But so far it's lived up to the hype for me. Also, Glass Onion, which I finished not last night but the night before, also lives up to the hype. That movie was an absolute blast. Very, very funny, and very mean to rich people who deserve every bit of it.
It just reminds me, you have to see the menu. Don't forget to see the menu.
It is on the list. I will get to it eventually. But right now in this moment, all I care about is making Janelle Monáe the star of the next Knives Out movie, because she was spectacular, and they were very, very obviously setting her up as another potential detective in that universe.
Excellent. Well, this is the problem, though, with having a kind of best of these days. There's so much content. There's so many movies, television especially, but comics too. You can't truly have a best of unless it's like, you guys at Den of Geek, and you have a big team, and between the lot of you, you've probably seen almost everything, and you'll have a few consensus picks, and then you all probably throw in, your favorites, and you have this sort of collective kind of best of. But we can't do that. Two of us can't do that because we haven't seen nearly enough. So
I did start a campaign at Den of Geek to write in Bluey as one of the best shows of the year, but unfortunately not enough people have children under 5. So it did not win. It did not make the top 25. But yeah, you're right. There are a lot of people that had votes in Den of Geek's list. So the list came out actually really good.
I haven't checked it out. I assume it's up there.
Better Call Saul won. It was top 5 were Better Call Saul, Andor, Barry, The Boys, and The Bear.
The Bear is great. The Boys we'll talk about. I have strong thoughts on The Boys. I don't know if you've been watching it.
I have, and I really like it. I think that there's more emotion and feeling in that show than there is in your average Marvel show, while at the same time they are just mercilessly mocking the Marvel and DC cinematic universes.
They are. Well, then maybe we should spend a minute. So The Boys.
Yeah, let's do it.
this is going to be part of my list too, in the sense that I don't know that I have a best of. I have an of. I have this mushy cloud where there's sort of my favorites and sort of not, things I saw that I liked that I didn't. I don't know. I don't know that I have enough to really fill up a best of. So let's just talk of. And The Boys is a really good one. I finally got to finish up the season, and I have to say I'm starting to burn out on the formula a little bit.
I can see where you're coming from on that. That's a fair criticism. I'm not there yet. I'm not burned out on it. It's still entertaining and fresh to me.
Definitely doesn't feel fresh, and it's funny because I'm starting to feel some of the frustrations that I feel over Garth Ennis stuff in general. Which
actually, the interesting thing about The Boys for me is that the TV show has way more heart than the comic ever did.
Yeah. No, I would say,
and that's why the show has endured for me in a way that the comic never didn't. The comic didn't grab me because it was just so mean and relentlessly cynical. And the show is mean and relentlessly cynical, but it's also there's heart to it, right?
There's heart, but I think now the heart is starting to feel like it's there in service of the cynical.
Maybe.
There's none of this heart feels like it matters or is going to matter. Everything's going to get squashed out one way or another. They'll throw some more obvious, the satire is getting broader, culturally. And it's feeling like it's all starting to serve that cynicism. And the heart feels sort of half-assed to me now. And okay. I think the little they have will be pretty much expunged and, filled up more with more gratuitous gore. I also kind of burned out on the gore, man. It's like, yeah, this is not story.
The place where the cynicism really shines through the most and overwhelms the story they're trying to tell is A-Train.
That's funny because I was just thinking of the gore
right
when he killed what's his name, dragging him along the road. That was like my favorite gore of the season. That was cool.
The gore was fantastic, but like they were just so. There were parts of it there were parts of that story, the corporate co-opting of the Black Lives Matter stuff, the Pepsi commercial that they did, where they made fun of Kendall Jenner's Pepsi commercial with A-Train. That was the hardest I laughed, I think, the entire season. Yeah. But like the story that they're trying to tell is the cynicism is countermanding, I guess. I don't even know. The cynicism is running counter to the character work that I think they were initially trying to do with A-Train. And I think it's creating an inertia with him that's gonna make it. I'm interested to see what happens next season with him because he's where it could fall apart,
but he's also where it could get a little more interesting for me, anyways.
Right.
And I mean, it's changing. It's less satirical about Marvel and DC anymore. They've sort of left that behind, and it's satirical about the culture at large. Which is
right. Well, casting the Supernatural guy as Soldier Boy was, I think, like very self-aware, and that was the point, right? That was that was satire of fandom culture by casting him against type there.
Oh, I hadn't really thought about
also
that.
I really it's not just here, and I know he's playing the same character in Reboot, but the Paul Reiser sense is very enjoyable to me.
It is. I agree completely.
He was great there. He was fantastic in Reboot. And he was kind of playing against type when he was in Stranger Things, when he was playing Carter Burke for the first 3 episodes, and then what if Carter Burke was a good guy for the last 3 episodes of that season. So I'm very happy that he's back and he's doing this stuff because Carter Burke is my favorite role of his.
Yeah, he's fun. And that's a good segue. So Stranger Things. Best of?
I didn't watch it.
Oh no. I was counting on you, man. I didn't watch it except snippets of it. I'd sit in there, I kept meaning to watch it. The rest of my family was watch it. I'd sit down and say, oh yeah, this is cool. I got to watch it. Shit. I was hoping you'd have something to say about it.
I do. It wasn't doing it for me. After I think what the mall one was the last one I watched. And like there were fun pieces of it, but it just wasn't my thing. So I didn't watch it. I will probably go back at some point, but I don't know. There's just too much other stuff that I'm actually interested in,
All right, so we got The Boys on your best of list. It's got 1 foot in best and one foot in, less relevant to me. Stranger Things pending for both of us. So we'll have to do another by the end of 2023. We'll have to finish the best of 2022, and then now this is actually getting very meta. I don't know.
I'm trying to remember what I put on my list. Oh, A League of Their Own was on mine. Did you watch it?
I did not.
My only complaint. So it was a really, really good period piece.
Mm-hmm.
In a way that it was also like extremely queer and kind of an artifact of like queer history.
Mm-hmm.
In a way that the movie only hinted at. My only problem with it was the CGI baseball scenes were just frustrating because the movie had actual like good baseball scenes in it and the show had CGI baseball, but at the end, like by the end, it didn't matter.
Please tell me they at least showed the actors how to swing a bat.
Yes,
please.
They did not. They did not.
God.
No, it's just I don't think they had the money to sit there and wait until somebody hit a fly ball to right field.
No, you can't do that. But at least, in the movie, you get all these folks up there holding it out and they're like swinging these weird big, the typical thing people who've never swung. Yeah. I used to be I was a baseball coach. Okay.
I'm a T-ball coach. I did the same. I'm right there with you. But yeah, it was fine. The baseball scenes were fine. They were not spectacular, but the acting was really good. What's her name from Broad City was awesome. Janet from The Good Place was amazing. It's so disrespectful to not actually know any of their real names, but it was a really good show. It was a really good show. Strongly recommend.
All right. I'll have to go back and check it out. I forgot it even existed.
We should set aside Marvel and Star Wars for a minute, because we're going to want to talk about those. Should we do DC?
Yeah, and I'm going to have to lean on you on this too, because I have not been good about watching my DC shows at all.
Peacemaker.
So tell me. Oh, well, yeah, I saw that one.
Yeah, Peacemaker. Peacemaker's it, right? Harley Quinn was a lot more of the same. I have not started the new Doom Patrol season yet. Mm-hmm. And Titans never did it for me. Titans was too aggressively Jeff Johns.
Well, that's actually too bad, because I was definitely going to pick your brain about Titans. Harley Quinn continues to be a lot of fun, but it's easy to check in and out of.
Right.
But still, it's an easy one to take for granted because it's very cool.
What I like most about the show is that it's so good that they can't help but make Harley in the comics into the Harley of the show, and they are now being much more explicit about the Harley and Ivy relationship.
Mm-hmm.
And I think it's less because, everybody's always wanted to put them together. It's very clear, but they're so compelling on the show and so good as a couple on the show that I don't think they have any, and so much more popular on the show that they don't have any choice but to make them like that in the comics now. And I love it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Peacemaker, I'm glad you mentioned that one. I'm with you. Absolutely, so 100% on that. That was so good.
So good. And that's my DC list.
Mm-hmm. And
am I missing anything?
Peacemaker just makes me think again that I'm going to say it again. I'm going to say this every time until it happens, that James Gunn and his Superman is going to give us Mr. Mxyzptlk on the screen. We're going to get him. We're going to get him. Just mark you heard it here first.
I'm fine with it. I'm fine with it. The Peacemaker is evidence that the stuff with distinct voice is the superhero stuff that is the best. Peacemaker is a very, very weird show
It is.
with very weird characters. It works because it has something to say about the characters, and it works because John Cena has never committed to a role less than 120%, and he is all in on that fucking very, very weird man. But it works because it's different. It works because it's not the same shit that the superhero franchises have been shoveling at us for a long time.
Yeah. We'll see. See how it goes. I don't know if they can keep it up is the thing, but we'll see.
We'll see. So what were the Marvel? Let's just. I mean, we have.
Well,
to
let
now.
me hit you with something, because I was going through the. I mean, before we get to Marvel and Star Wars, I was going through the list of sort of genre TV I've watched this year, and I realized, shit, there was a lot of fantasy this year. There was so much fantasy. I started going down the list. You've got Rings of Power, you got Sandman, you got House of the Dragon, you got Wheel of Time, Witcher, Willow. It's like it snuck up on me. Was this like the year of fantasy TV? Where did this come from?
Kind of always been that way, though, hasn't it? I mean, The Witcher's been around for everything, but Rings of Power has been around for a while, and Rings of Power is Tolkien.
No, it hasn't been around for a while. Willow's a brand new TV show.
Willow's a brand new TV show, but Willow also only just started like 2 weeks ago.
Wheel of Time.
Witcher's in season 3.
Witcher's in season 3. Year? Witcher's different. What's that?
Was Wheel of Time this year?
Yeah, I think so, unless I'm getting so old the years are blurring together.
I mean, that's absolutely what's happening.
Mm-hmm. Well,
I'm consulting Dr. Internet. Yeah, it might have been the last episode probably aired at the end of this year. It started November of last year. Okay. Oh, it was last year. It ended on Christmas Eve last year.
All right, then pay no attention.
According to the internet. Also, I mean, if we're talking about Wheel of Time, I read the first 45 pages of the first book and threw it across the room.
It's funny because I read the first 3 books.
Mm-hmm.
They were all the same. At least the ends of all of them were the same.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember I got sucked into the series. Part of me was grumbling. It's like this weird inner purist came out and started grumbling about how, well, it's really different from the books, blah, blah. And then I had this moment of revelation of, wait a minute, you hated the books. Mm-hmm. So I sort of sat back in it and I had a good time. Not a very good series at all by any objective measurement, but I enjoyed it. But it's the wrong year. I can't believe I screwed that up.
No, you didn't. I mean, Hawkeye, I'm doing the same thing, right? I have at least 4 times in the last 2 weeks, I have said, wait, was Hawkeye this year or last year? Because it was Christmas and it could have been March of this year that they put it out. Rings of Power, I'm super mixed on. I don't think I put it on my ballot. It was clearly, they poured an ungodly amount of money into it, but there were like 5 episodes of an 8-episode season that did the same thing.
I keep watching Rings of Power because I'm engaged enough. I want to know what happens next, but I don't think I could recommend it. It's a clumsy script, and it's a script that almost feels a little like fan fiction, and it plays out.
I want to be careful because a lot of fan fiction's really good.
Well, that's true.
And it's not fair to the good fan fiction to compare Rings of Power, which is trying to cash in on, the 18% of Tolkien's works that Amazon was able to purchase. And like what bothered me most about the show is how you can see the edges of what they're allowed to talk about. Right. This and a part of it is because I know, I've done some of the reading about what they have the rights to and what they don't have the rights to. And there was a lot of media around the rights battle, but like in universe where you start bumping up against the edges of what they have the copyright to, or what they have the ability to talk about on the show, it feels way too contrived.
Mm-hmm.
And there's stuff in there that's being explained that I don't really need to be explained, you know?
Yeah.
Right.
Well,
Like
okay.
I don't need Gandalf to have a history with the hobbits beyond what's explicit in the books.
Yeah. And
You know?
the weird Gandalf, well, anyways, I won't say fan fiction then. I'll say
Thank you.
it'll feel like overlaying a couple different Middle Earth role-playing game campaigns with then a
That's fair.
sprinkling of actual Tolkien stuff around it.
Yeah.
And so that's just, and it was not helped by the fact that it came out in such proximity to House of the Dragon.
I also a very stupid man once said, "Fool me once, shame on you. Fool me twice, and I'm not going to get fooled again." And that was my attitude going into House of the Dragon. I'm going to wait until the entire show has been aired and people I trust say, "Oh, it was really good. They didn't fuck up the end," because the show, the Song of Ice and Fire show, original one, was the ending. That last season was so bad, I don't care about the books anymore.
Well, so far, I really wanted to not like it. I really did. And it's really good. It's just really good. I couldn't help myself. I tried.
That's fine. I will give you that. I'm not criticizing people for liking it. I am using those people as my guinea pigs.
Well,
I'm not going to commit to something from those guys until I know that it's going to be good all the way through.
You just have a hard time with commitment.
Yeah, it's true. Let's finish with the non-genre shit that we want to talk about.
Oh,
welcome to Wrexham, the documentary about the British soccer team, the Welsh soccer team that Ryan Reynolds and Mac from Always Sunny bought.
Oh yeah, I forgot all about that.
Yep.
I wanted to see that. I'm going to watch that now this week.
You should, because it turned into a show about dudes and how dudes actually rock. And some dude and all of the ways that dudes love each other. And it's like weirdly uncomfortably positive a few times, but it's just nice. It's just really, really nice.
No, that's cool.
Yep.
Well, we got to talk about Better Call Saul then.
That Breaking Bad doesn't do it for me, so you can talk all you want about it.
Well, they're very different. They have great similarities. But you can certainly watch either one without necessarily being grabbed by the other. I don't want to make them sound more different than they really are. You know what I mean? But Better Call Saul was, had a lot more. I don't want to say light because it got very, very unlight, but the characters were so different. I mean, Saul as a central character is gonna color the entire show, and it really did. And that was my worry, is that they wouldn't be able to pivot creatively around a character like him. But really through the whole series they did, and they stuck the landing. It was I don't want to go into the details if someone hasn't seen it, but they really did. They gave us an episode that closed it all up together and also represented a real closure of the overall arc of this character, not just through that series, but encompassing Breaking Bad. It was really thoughtfully done and well done.
It is beloved for a reason. I have to believe that it's very skillfully made, because a lot of people that I like and respect think it's amazing. Just wasn't my bag, but
it sneaks up on you. It's a show that sneaks up on you because you think it's going to be in Breaking Bad's shadow.
Right.
And it's really not.
Okay. So maybe I'll try it sometime.
Yeah, it's worth seeing.
The Hulu dyad, it's not really a dyad, it's just two shows that were on Hulu. Reboot the show about a woman wanting to approaching Hulu to remake a Full House-esque show from her teenage years that is actually just an excuse for her to work with her or to take something away from her absent father, who was the producer of the original show.
Right. We've got the old group,
Yes.
the old hacks and the new ones constantly in that hilarious tension.
The writers' room scenes are hilarious, and Keegan-Michael Key has some really obscenely funny stuff, some really ridiculously funny stuff during the season. It's breezy and short, and the longer it goes on, the more like a traditional sitcom it gets to be. But everybody in that show is really, really funny. Rachel Bloom's awesome. Paul Reiser, fantastic.
Yeah.
Judy Greer is incredible. Johnny Knoxville is actually really good in it. It's just great.
Well,
we didn't talk about Jackass. Jackass was this year, right?
Oh, no, I didn't see it.
Oh, it's definitely one of the best movies. Yeah, watching Machine Gun Kelly get a giant hand slap him into a pool while he's riding a bike was definitely one of the best moments of the year.
All right.
What else? Oh, and the bear. The bear was extremely stressful to watch. Thank God it was only 6 episodes, because I don't think I would have survived 2 more.
Yeah, and that's another one that universally gets on best of lists.
It's so
deserved
good.
It was terrific.
It was so good. And I guess it's not actually it is genre, and it's not actually a Hulu show, but that's where I watched it. What We Do in the Shadows.
I got to admit, What We Do in the Shadows has also kind of worn thin for me this year. Really? I really didn't pay any attention to it.
It wasn't as funny this year as it had been in the past, but it was still really funny.
Yeah, I think I just needed a break from it for a little while, like The Simpsons. I need a break from it for a couple years. I go back to it. I have a good time.
I've heard it's good again.
Simpsons?
Yeah.
I've heard that too. But
yeah, I might have to approach it.
I don't know when I watch episodes, I don't know what season they're from. The Simpsons is a big blur. There's like when it was hand drawn and since it's been hand drawn, and the details escape me. So
I think I might just go on to Disney Plus and work backwards from what they have available.
And there you go.
Did you watch Wednesday?
I have not.
I've heard good things about it. I watched it while my wife watched it, while I screwed around on my phone, and it seemed too overly serious and full of itself for me. But I've heard that the last couple episodes of the season, it makes a real turn and gets really good.
Yeah.
So I think I'm going to come back to it.
It's on my list. It's not very far up my list, but I do want to get to it eventually.
All right. So Sandman.
Yeah. So what can you say about Sandman that we haven't already said? Sandman was
it's been an hour talking about it.
We can. There was so much going on there, and it's it exceeded all my expectations. It met my hopes. Let's put it that way. And nothing ever meets my hopes.
So we did a special feature for the show for Den of Geek magazine, and I got to see some promo art early from 24 Hours, the diner episode. And at that moment I said, if they get this right, this show is going to be something really special. But if they get it wrong, it's going to be really wrong, and it's going to be really bad. They got it right, and they knocked it out of the park. It was just spectacular, start to finish, including the 2 extra episodes. It was so good.
Especially, I think, the 2 extra episodes.
Yeah.
Because they didn't shy away from anything. They leaned into everything in this series that could be dangerous or could get them into trouble. And they didn't play out on the screen the same way. But it's a different medium. So they shouldn't be exactly the same. But they pulled it off. They're not shying away from everything. They're just doing it, and they're doing a great job.
Yep. Again, refer back to the episode that we did about it. Everything we said then was absolutely true. It was just amazing. Abbott Elementary will make you laugh your ass off. If you know a single public school teacher, it will make you laugh really, really hard. It will also occasionally make you really angry. But
describes a lot of good things.
Yeah, and anything that accurately depicts the state of our public schools will make people very angry. It's fair. I think it's fair to let our audience know that we're both very partisan Democrats.
Yeah, well,
all right.
No hiding
so that. Marvel first. Marvel TV this year. Moon Knight was shit. I watched 3 episodes of it. I couldn't stand it. I did not finish it. Then She-Hulk.
Mm-hmm. And then we had Ms. Marvel. It's funny. I just have to, before we get into too much, because you made me think of it.
Mm-hmm.
I enjoy the Marvel shows a lot in general. They do not stand up to repeat viewings for me, except for one. And I sort of realized I was doing it. The one series that when I'm bored, I'm like, oh, I'm going to watch a little more of that one. And I'll go back and watch. You're never going to guess which one it is. It's Hawkeye. I keep going back and watching again and enjoying it just as much.
They did a really good job of capturing that Fraction run. I think Ms. Marvel holds up. I think Ms. Marvel was really good and unique, because they nailed the Spider-Man vibe of Ms. Marvel, right? They got all of her problems. Her supporting cast was really vibrant.
And they took chances too. They really deviated from the source material pretty far in the service of a unique vision, They had to, right? They couldn't do the Inhuman stuff. The Inhumans. Well, I'm not even talking about the origin. I mean, the way the story actually played out.
They jumped around, right? The Red Dagger stuff was way later in the series. The trip to Pakistan was way later. There was also a lot I really appreciated the incidental history. And this seems to be happening a lot with genre shows lately. Where Ms. Marvel comes out and all of a sudden there is a moment to discuss the partition in popular culture, and a bunch of people discover it the same way that Black Wall Street happened. It came up in the monoculture when Watchmen was up. I appreciate it when shows do that, and kind of expand the field of vision for their mostly American audience.
Yeah, no, that has great value in itself. And say what you will about Marvel TV but it almost always sets its goals and accomplishes exactly what it sets out to do, with a couple exceptions. I would say Moon Knight is one, and I enjoyed Moon Knight a lot at the beginning.
Moon Knight was a turd.
It didn't know how to close the deal. And, we get a kaiju fight in Moon Knight. Are you kidding me? Basically how it all ended.
Oh, yeah.
And then, going back, Falcon and Winter Soldier did not close the deal on what it
also bad.
But everything else that they've done.
And what if did exactly what they wanted it to do? I just hated what they wanted it to do.
Yeah, it was just kind of dumb.
Yeah.
But everything else, they set goals and they met them.
Yep. She-Hulk. The first couple episodes were rough. I kind of didn't want to like She-Hulk, and then it really, really grew on me.
Yeah, She-Hulk became must-watch TV in my house.
Yeah, Himbo Daredevil was great.
Yeah.
I thought, the Daredevil TV shows, they were all about how miserable Matt Murdock is, but there's this whole other slutty, playful side to him that they just really nailed in She-Hulk, and I enjoyed that. I also thought, I get that it's co-opting criticisms of the corporate nature of the Marvel universe, but I thought Kevin was still really good.
Yeah. I mean, I understand why it was great. It was a bridge too far for a lot of people. I've had a lot of conversations about this, but they should have known. The people who went too far for it shouldn't have been watching, because we knew it was going to lean heavy into the burn run,
Yep.
where, people are climbing out of panels and scratching themselves on the staple
Yep.
as they crawl across the comic to get into another panel, which is,
Yep.
we got that
Yep.
exactly crawling
Yep.
through the menu. Just shouldn't have watched it then, because that's what we were
Yep.
always what we were going to get. We knew we were going to get it. We were told they were going for funny. And so I have no respect for those people.
Yeah,
and one of
that's
them is
fine.
my own child, and he's just, sorry, kid.
He's just wrong. He's just wrong. Kids are wrong all the time.
Yeah, kids these days.
All right, so on to Star Wars. I loved Obi-Wan,
Obi-Wan was great.
and I think Andor is in the running for my show of the year.
Andor's all you, buddy. I haven't watched it yet. Isn't that terrible?
I am
still going to talk
It
to you?
is. I'm still going to talk to you. I'm just not going to talk at great length about it. But it's like the entire show was that first story arc of season 3 of Battlestar Galactica.
I don't remember what the first story arc of season
New
3
Caprica.
was. Oh, that
Yeah.
was season 3. Right.
That was season 3.
Right.
Yeah.
Well,
The New Caprica, the good guys were unapologetic terrorists.
Mhm.
Mon Mothma stuff was so good, and everything, all of my concerns about why the show had to exist were erased by the 3rd episode. It absolutely justified its own existence, and I think it is the essential Star Wars show.
That's what people say.
The Empire is so much scarier because it's so much more real through this show. They show what it's like living under the Empire's fascism. They show what it's like to fight back against it in all sorts of different little ways. It's just so good. It's so smart. It's so smart. And I've been so down on Star Wars, on Disney Star Wars stuff for a long time. I mean, the last movie I saw in theaters before the pandemic was Rise of Skywalker, right? And I hated it. It was a terrible experience.
Oh, that's just a kick in the gut before
Yeah.
going into an even bigger.
It was terrible.
Oh,
it was terrible. And it's colored everything, right? The last season of Clone Wars, like, I skipped around in it. I didn't really watch Resistance. The Bad Batch, I don't care. So
I didn't care about that. I didn't look at it.
And then there were the shorts. There were the Tales of the Jedi shorts that, like, again, it's lore for lore's sake. I hate The Mandalorian. I didn't care for Book of Boba Fett. I didn't finish Book of Boba Fett, so I don't think it really matters. But this was just so good that I'm back in.
Mandalorian and Book of Boba Fett kind of blur together in my head.
I mean, it's like Book of Boba Fett was like season 2.5 of Mando.
Yeah. I mean, and that's before, that was a year before this one, right? Before last.
Yeah.
Okay.
That was last Christmas. But like, okay, let's talk about sad old Obi-Wan.
Sad old Obi-Wan.
I mean, you watched that, right?
I did. And, it didn't work for me until it did. You know what I mean? Does that make sense?
When did it work for you?
It's hard to point at a particular time. I just found myself by, second, third episode, I was into it. I was there. I'm not exactly sure how I got there. Because it really wasn't working for me. And I think I was doing that Disney resistant thing too.
Yeah.
I was like, this is not, we've wrung this thing out. We've made it into, something so homogenized and uninteresting. And I was well into the Disney Star Wars fatigue. And this one snuck up on me. Yeah. And, there are elements of it that still bug me. I hate the way they do force powers now. I mean, I hate them.
Really?
Yeah. I mean, there was some containment to it, even subtlety to it in the well, certainly in the first trilogy. In the second trilogy, right, at least still had some limitations. But now, they're trying to do their big getaway and Vader shows up and like grabs the whole ship and is holding it back easily with his
Yeah,
force
but
powers. And they have to sneak the other ship off behind it. You know,
that's cool. Because that's not everybody
too
can do that.
much. It's
Not
too
everybody
much.
can do that. The point is that he can.
But the point is that if the force can make you Dark Phoenix, it's a whole different, it puts retroactively puts, changes everything, and it puts it into a whole different mindset. I mean, there's, like
Yeah,
I say, there's no subtlety to it anymore.
yeah, it's fair.
And I miss some of that. I miss, you know,
That's fair. But to me, Obi-Wan wasn't about the Force powers. It was about the regret.
no,
It
it
was
wasn't. And
about
yeah, and things like that. That's just a total aside.
yeah,
That really doesn't impact the series itself. And yeah, no, it gets my thumbs up for sure.
yep. It was very good. And we will close this time with Star Trek.
We will close, although there's a couple other things I want to throw in for honorable mentions.
All right, let's do
Although
it.
one of them is not an honorable mention. I think the best science fiction series going right now is For All Mankind.
Yeah, you mentioned that, and I still don't have Apple TV.
It's an extraordinary show. It's also talking about Battlestar Galactica. It's also Ron Moore. Um,
Yeah.
it, it's. I mean, I assume you know how it works. It's another alternate history where the Russians get to the moon first, and
Yep.
each season, the third season, which we just have, we're now in the 90s on Mars. But it's a very character driven show.
Mhm.
Usually, it hits the mark really well. It takes its time when it needs to, and gives you a little more something quicker happening when it needs to. Well casted, and the thought that's gone into it, to some of the butterfly effect of that particular change. In the first season, you'll have, I shouldn't be giving things away, but if you do go back and watch from the beginning, you'll listen in the background at one point and you hear when there's this particular catastrophe, everyone's summoned back to Washington. There's a news report saying, Senator Edward Kennedy had to cut short a vacation on Chappaquiddick to come back. And next thing you know, he's president. And there's just, it's great. And it's very thoughtful, and it's really good. So I definitely want to call that one out. There's, and then if I'm going to mention, I gotta give my farewell. The last 2 episodes of The Expanse were in January.
Yeah, I've got a rewatch of the whole series queued up. I stopped watching it when it jumped to Amazon, and I was just waiting for it to finish to binge the whole thing. So
It got even better.
okay. I love the books. I thought the books were really, really good.
I did not read the books, although I understand they deviate more as you go further into the series. But
it makes sense. The books cover like 120 years real time. And the thing that bothered me the most about the shows, and I get that they can't do it, but it's that they don't show the passage of time for the space travel. So it still feels instantaneous.
Yeah. I get that. Mm-hmm. And all right, we were going to go into, well, a couple more things to throw out there. Do you watch any anime?
I haven't this year. Chainsaw Man's on my list to check out.
Chainsaw Man. I got 3 episodes into it. I enjoyed it. Looked cool. Was a lot of fun. That anime trope of the sort of puerile sexuality thing, big turnoff for me. It eventually ran me out. The obsession with boobs. I was like, yeah, all right. But
it feels like what I've heard about the manga is that the point is to subvert that trope.
Really? That
Maybe.
didn't come through. Maybe I needed to stick with it.
Yeah, maybe.
But another good one to look at, which is something that was released as a and this is if you're looking for some of that more of a Miyazaki vibe in your anime, The Girl from the Other Side. It was I think in Japan it was a movie, but it was released it's on Crunchyroll, of course. It's where everything is, right? 3 different episodes, and it gets grim and dark, and usually Miyazaki will bring you into grim and dark and then bring you out of it, and this doesn't bring you out of it, but it has that sort of fantastical vibe to it, and it's artistically beautiful, absolutely beautiful. So that one's worth checking out. So
I'm still working my way through the Ghibli back catalog on HBO Max. I'm trying to watch it in the order that my kids are going to be allowed to see it in. So I just like probably 4 months ago, I watched Spirited Away for the first time.
oh, that is such a good movie.
It's all incredible.
It's all great.
Right?
Princess Mononoke still makes me cry.
Totoro. My kid Totoro comes in and out of heavy rotation in the house every couple of months, and it's great. It's great. I could watch it a million times over. It's just such a good, nice, beautiful, smart movie. I love the conspiracy theory and how batshit and evil the conspiracy theory is about that movie.
Mm-hmm.
But I mostly just really love the movie. Right. All right. We're running very long.
Oh, we're pushing our luck here.
Star Trek,
which now we need to cram it into 5 minutes, right?
Yeah, right. So Lower Decks is good. Lower Decks is funny. Obviously, Lower Decks is not going to be for everybody. Picard, every season is 2 episodes too long.
I disagree with that. I think I agree with that on the first season, but I don't quite agree with that on the second season. Right when I was feeling like, rolling my eyes and can we get on with it, they kicked back in for me. And I love that series. That series is real Star Trek, the heart and soul of Star Trek wrapped out in the trappings of darker, grimmer, grittier, more real, serious, all this stuff that it's supposed to be better than Star Trek, but it's real Star Trek, and it's great.
It's more inward looking. It's a lot more. It's dangerous to say this, but it's like if Star Trek 5 had been made by more capable people.
Oh, that's an interesting thought.
It's, Star Trek 5 was long and meandering and really super full of itself, but it was also very navel-gazy about the characters. And that's what Picard is, right? Picard is very kind of, and they don't throw it in your face. It's not aggressive. It's not annoying. It's not incompetently done, but it's very up its own butt about Jean-Luc Picard.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's where the show doesn't peak for me, right?
Mm.
It's good but never great. And I'm I'm in and out of Paramount Plus, right? I get a Paramount Plus subscription when Picard is out, and then I get caught up on all the Star Trek stuff, or I stick around because they put Strange New Worlds on right afterwards, and it turns out Strange New Worlds is the best Star Trek since Deep Space Nine.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know what else. It's funny that you invoked Star Trek 5, which is actually kind of a great segue if you know what happens in Strange New Worlds.
Right.
When when they were leading up to the big reveal, I was like, Cyborg.
No way. Same thing, right? Like that's coming. I'm like, no way. There's no way. They don't have the balls to do it. They cannot possibly go there. And then they did. And you know what? I'm here. I'm there.
Me too. I stood up and cheered. I swear to God.
Yeah, I don't care. Because this season was so good that if anybody's going to fix it, it's going to be this one.
Yeah. And I think in a lot of these, one thing you got to say about Star Trek, even the ones we may be getting a little bored with, like Discovery, when it's good, there's a lot of love in it. People are, you feel it through the screen. People, are enjoying what they're doing. Everybody from the writers through the actors, and it just sends off that energy.
Yeah.
That was part of the problem with Enterprise for me, is I didn't necessarily feel that
right.
that they were it
was a job.
It was a job. And the Star Trek's now Strange New World's a perfect example. They're loving it. They're all
You know
lovely.
what? I think it gets lost in the 60 years gap, but the original series, a lot of it was cool, attractive people doing fun things,
Hmm.
right? And I think, I mean, that definitely disappeared a little bit during Enterprise. And I don't think Discovery's quite figured it out yet. And Picard is not explicitly not about cool, attractive people doing fun things. Picard is about Jean-Luc Picard, right?
Yeah.
And Lower Decks mines its humor from the fact that it's explicitly not about cool, attractive people doing fun things. It's about the misfits shoveling shit in the stables on the ship, right?
Right.
Strange New Worlds is very much cool, attractive people having a good time doing interesting things.
Yeah, and that the
Right.
fact that they keep the things interesting is a credit to the writers.
I can't believe they pulled off a Spock body swap episode.
And that's the one everybody loves. It actually
was so
is
good.
I enjoyed it a lot. It is not one of my favorites of that season, but it's so interesting that it resonated with so many people.
Because it's so unbelievable that it worked. Right. The episode where they went back, like they traveled to the what was it, the pre-warp nuclear society.
Mm-hmm.
Right. Like that's an old Star Trek trope that they've done over and over and over again. And they did it really well on Strange New Worlds. Right.
Mm-hmm.
The stuff about Pike trying to avert his fate. Right. Who was it who died? Oh, the engineer. The episode where the engineer died at the end was really good, really strong. Yeah. The one about the doctor's kid was amazing.
That may get my vote for the best.
I think that's probably one of mine too. But and incredibly old school Star Trek, right? Like there was a Nebula that's a child that wanted a friend to hang out with and found this kid in the transporter buffer. Perfect Star Trek stuff. The Spock body swap episode was so fucking weird. Was so just completely out of left field for what they would do both on Star Trek and with that specific character, that's the one that sticks out in people's minds, even though you're absolutely right. It is not the best episode of the season. And there are episodes that resonate harder, but it's just so weird.
Yeah. It's absolutely masterful synergy because they're giving us fan service practically every frame, but it's not necessary.
You don't notice.
You don't notice. You don't need it if you don't get the references. You didn't need to have seen what was it, Balance of Terror, I guess is the name of the episode from the first season of the original series to appreciate the last season or the last episode of Strange New Worlds.
Right.
And I was like, all of a sudden he's there and they're saying some of the same lines. My mind was blown. I was watching this with my wife. She didn't remember any of that stuff. And it was a great episode to her too. So they've done such a good job pleasing everybody. Yeah. They're pleasing everybody. When does that happen? Never.
It doesn't happen. But this has become more than Picard. Strange New Worlds is what I'm going to get Paramount Plus for, or what's going to keep me popping into Paramount Plus.
Yep. That's it. That's the one.
It's good stuff. All right. Well, that's that.
Time to get out of here.
Yeah,
I gotta go to bed.
Go. Yeah, me too. I'm tired. I'm an old man.
But
all right. Good night, everybody.
Happy New Year to the world, to our handful of loyal listeners.
Handful. It's 2 handfuls.
It's a couple handfuls. All right, there you go.
A baker's dozen or 3.
That works.
Yeah, there we go.
And
thank you. Thank you to all the listeners.
Cranking out the guests again here soon, and more to come.
Yep. All right. Good night, everybody.